Good evening, and welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine.
It is Wednesday. We are halfway through the week. It is December the 10th, 2025. This is Spathon bringing in another episode of The Swamp. Today, the United States government executed a seizure warrant and confiscated an oil tanker leaving Venezuela by military force. The Department of Homeland Security, the Coast Guard, the FBI, and the Department of War executed the seizure. And the Trump Gold Card is now officially available. A rich foreigner who wants a green card but doesn't want to take the long amount of time to complete the rigorous process can apply and receive his Gold Card. And the funds will be deposited directly into the United States Treasury. Republicans released shocking information on Obamacare, including 23 out of 24 fraudulent applications being approved. Obamacare covered $94 million worth of health care to people who are already dead, and tens of thousands of fraudulent Social Security numbers were used to get Obamacare. And House Democrats held a press conference today, and House Republicans also held a press conference of their own, and we will check out both of them. The chairman of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee issued a statement from the podium to Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela. He said, quote, "You lost the election and it's time to step down." And the fake news media continues their attempt to sow the seeds of division within the Trump administration's inner circle, and President Trump clears the air with regard to Secretary Noem and Secretary Hegseth, saying they are both doing a phenomenal job. And there's a lot more to get into, so just gonna dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel if you have a quick second to do so. And also give the video a quick like. And if you decide to leave a comment on this video, I might just read it on the next episode. And every article you'll see in this video will be linked in the description below. So we're just going to jump right over to Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Today, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Homeland Security Investigations, and the United States Coast Guard, with support from the Department of War, executed a seizure warrant for a crude oil tanker used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. For multiple years, the oil tanker has been sanctioned by the United States due to its involvement in an illicit oil shipping network supporting foreign terrorist organizations. This seizure, completed off the coast of Venezuela, was conducted safely and securely. And our investigation alongside the Department of Homeland Security to prevent the transport of sanctioned oil continues. And we're going to take a look at this footage. This is wild, man. Not sure if there's any sound. It doesn't look like there's going to be any sound. So that's okay. These usually don't have any sound, the ones that are marked unclassified, which typically comes from the Department of War. So I'm assuming they're the guys who produced this footage. And this was released today. This happened today. Looks like during the maybe early to mid-morning hours. Landing on the oil tanker, guns drawn, seizing their way into the cabin. They demand to talk to the captain. And they're going to take the oil tanker from there. And I'm assuming they are going to transport it directly back to the United States of America. At least that's my assumption. All right, so that happened today. That was absolutely wild. That wasn't on my Wednesday, December 10th bingo card for sure. So I don't know if that's going to be the first of many, or if that's really the only, the exclusive oil tanker that's involved with the trade with oil between Venezuela, well, with Venezuela and Iran. I doubt that they're exchanging oil between the two countries because both of them produce oil. So, but anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to the White House. President Trump participates in a roundtable. I believe that the main subject of this roundtable is the Trump Gold Card, which I'll talk about right after this. So, as usual, if you haven't seen this the show before, The Swamp, I usually just play the opening remarks. I'll play just a few minutes, and I will get ahead of myself right now. I'm going to repost it. There's a link to my profile in the description below, which will take you directly to this post. Or you could just go straight to @WhiteHouse over on the X platform. So we'll go ahead and give this a play, and we'll hear some of President Trump's remarks, and we'll just kind of see where it goes. All right, hang on. Okay, all right, all good. Technical difficulties. We're all good. I don't want to skip ahead. I was trying to skip to the right part, but it kept jumping around, so just figured I'd just hold it here.
Nice to see you. Well, thank you very much. It's been
Okay, here we
an
go.
interesting day
Rock and roll.
from the standpoint of news. As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large.
Yeah, we did. We're on top of it.
Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so you'll be seeing that later, and you'll be talking about that later with some other people. Very excitingly for me and for the country, we've just launched the Trump Gold Card. It was about 30 minutes from now. The site goes up, and all funds go to the United States government. It could be a tremendous amount of money. It'll also be able to have people like this keep, as an example, just one example, there are a lot of examples, people just buying them. It's somewhat like a green card.
Yeah, I believe it's $1
with
million.
big
to
advantages
give.
over a green card. And companies are going to be able to go to the Wharton School of Finance, the Stern Business School, Harvard, MIT, wherever you may get your students, any school, and you're able to buy a card and keep that person in the United States.
Sponsor
actually,
them.
so there's certainty, because I've heard from Tim Cook of Apple, and I've heard from a lot of people, some of the people at
The
this
companies
table.
that sponsor with the gold
that
card, it's over $2 million
essentially in the United
just for
States,
one
you can't
gold
keep the
card.
student. You can't hire people
Company
from
sponsored.
the best colleges because you don't know whether or not you can keep the person. They come and have the people get out. They throw the person out of the country. You graduate number one from your college, and there's no way of guaranteeing, I guess you could say, there's no way of guaranteeing that they're able to stay in the country. Howard, maybe you'll give a little description of the Trump Gold Card, please.
Sure. So for
Hear
an
it, Howard.
individual, it's $1
Howard
million.
Lutnick, by the way.
And for a corporation, it's $2 million. And as the
There you
president
go.
said, for a corporation, they spend $2 million. They can
This is
then
with the
have
Department
an
of Commerce,
employee,
by the way.
full vetting, the best vetting the government has ever done. $15,000 vetting to make sure these people absolutely qualify to be in America. Absolutely qualified.
15,000.
Then the
Good grief,
company
man.
can keep them here, and they have a path to citizenship.
What are we using all this AI
Right?
for?
Obviously, they have to be perfect people in America, and having passed the
Maybe they
vetting,
are.
after 5 years, they'll be available to become citizens, and then the corporation can put someone else on the card. So for a company, they can keep putting people on the card, one
Someone else.
person per card, and for
Okay.
an individual, it's $1 million, and it's a gift to the United States of America to help America be great again under Donald Trump.
And it's really two gifts. It's a gift of getting somebody great coming into our country, because we think these will be some tremendous people that wouldn't be allowed to stay. You know, they graduate from college, they have to go back to India, they have to go back to China, they have to go back to France, they have to go back to wherever they came from. Very hard to stay. It's a shame. It's ridiculous things. We're taking care of that. The companies are going to be very happy. I know Apple's going to be happy, but a lot of the companies, nobody talked to me more about it than Tim Cook. He said it's a real problem, and it's not going to be a problem anymore. As you know, they used to send people up to Canada and other places, other countries, so we've solved that. And the other thing is it'll take in, we think, probably billions of dollars that will go to the Treasury of the United States, that will go to an account where we can do things positive for the country. So it'll be a great thing. We'll take in, I think, billions of dollars. Many billions of dollars, even. So that's very exciting. The Trump accounts are doing really well. We have a man on my right, Michael Dell, who's an extraordinary person. His wife is even more extraordinary. I think I can say that. They have such a good relationship. You know, like she's an extraordinary person,
Absolutely.
right? Got a great wife. But they're two great people. And as you know, last week, Michael contributed $6,250,000,000. And this is just something that's so special. So many people are in love with that.
Yeah, what he's talking about, they're setting up a trust fund for up to 25 million newborn Americans, and each one of those newborns, they're going to get $1,000 deposited into an account in their name, which I don't believe matures until they're at least 18 years old. It might even be longer than that, but it gains interest over that period, and they'll have a decent little nest egg to start out with. But anyway, he donated over $6 billion into that program, which, of course, when you divide that out over 1,000 per, I mean, it comes up to a lot.
He understood it right from the beginning. It was his idea, and he understood it right from the beginning. Could you give maybe just a little description of why you loved it for such a long period of time, and we were able to get it through the great, big, beautiful
All right,
bill?
well, we'll hear this out, and then I'll move
That's
on.
how, what
There's
gave
a lot
us
to
the
get to tonight.
authorization to do it. Michael, please.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. So, when we first heard about this idea, the idea was that the government would give $1,000 to a newborn baby in an account that they would own, and it would go in essentially the S&P 500 and compound. And when the child becomes 18, they could use that money to go to college, to buy a home, to start a business, to continue saving. And I thought that was a great idea. I thought that'd be great if companies matched the government's contribution, which we're doing, and a lot of the companies around the table have committed to doing that. And also the thought about this is, wow, this is going to be like a platform for families and communities and philanthropists to contribute to those accounts. And so we originally started with the idea of, well, what if we gave some money to all the kids in our home state of Texas, right? We thought that would be a nice
To all
thing
of them.
It's still a lot.
Yeah,
It is a lot.
It is. 1 out of 10 new kids in America are born in Texas.
It's pretty good.
Happen
There
to
you go.
be a fan of the state of Texas. But anyway, we thought about it some more, and we thought, this is going to be something really special. We have a foundation. It focuses on children. It's been around for 26 years, and we said, well, why don't we go bigger? And so we talked about it, and now that the Investment in America Act is a law, which that in itself is a incredible thing that occurred. It does create a platform, and we were super happy to announce that we would give $250. We arrived at $250 because next year will be the 250th birthday of America and 25 million children. We thought that was a nice thing to do because it would include most of the children that are 10 and under, that are not part of the government program, that live in zip codes where the median income is less than $150,000. And that was also an important part of our contribution. And I do believe there will be a number of other large gifts announced. I've already spoken with a few that will be announcing gifts at the state level, and more to come.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's amazing the vision you have, but that's why.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. It's an amazing idea. Something maybe Bill Gates probably could have done years ago instead of dumping money into who knows what. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to rapid response. It looks like this is going to be in the same meeting, so I'm sure there were some additional topics of discussion that came up during this roundtable. And just real quick, let me just take a quick look at the White House and see if anything else was posted with regard to this. Hakeem Jeffries, ELF, okay. So yeah, that one I already got. Trump Gold Card was announced today. The 2016 NDAA delivers massive wins for President Trump's peace through strength agenda into woke DEI in the military. So that's probably another topic of discussion. Just trying to show a little bit of the quote unquote spoiler alerts because it's an hour and a half discussion. I mean, it's way too long to get into. So 6 hours ago, let's see, trade deficit, manufacturing, the economy. Let's see, 6 states making America healthy again. We're going to get to that, the Make America Healthy Again agenda. More things happening with that. So, okay, well, yeah, it looks like with this next post, we'll get a little bit more information with the meeting. So from the president, very excitingly for me in our country, we just launched the Trump Gold Card. All funds the United States government. It could be a tremendous amount of money. It's somewhat like a green card with big advantages over a green card. Probably already heard what he said. I'll play it for a couple of seconds, but I think we already did get that out of the way. So
very excitingly for me and for the country,
playing this
we
out.
just launched the Trump Gold Card. It was about 30 minutes from now. The site goes up, and all funds go to the United States government.
Okay, yeah, we already got that. Okay, so this is going to be trumpcard.gov, and this is the website where you can apply for the Trump Gold Card. Apply now. Unlock life in America. Choose your card. You can do individual Trump Platinum Card, which is coming soon, and Trump Corporate Gold Card. So the individual, you can do the Trump Gold Card, the Platinum, Corporate, and so the recipient information, which I'm not going to fill all that out, of course. Don't need to. I'm already an American. So continue to payment. And like they said, it's $1 million payment. So that's how much it's going to come up to. It's a very expensive card, but it's for those rich foreigners who want to become an American and they don't want to deal with all the red tape and the long process of getting a green card, so they can get the gold card. And from Donald J. Trump's Truth Social, the United States government's Trump Gold Card is here today. A direct path to citizenship for all qualified and vetted people. So exciting. Our great American companies can finally keep their valuable talent. Live site opens in 30 minutes. And that's the Trump Gold Card. That is an image of the gold card. Alrighty, we'll head to the next thing. I believe it's also maybe related. Yeah. So this is related from Secretary Kristi Noem. The Department of Homeland Security is working closely with the Department of Commerce to facilitate the rollout of President Trump's Gold Card program. Under this historic initiative, qualified individuals and corporations who contribute $1 million and $2 million respectively will receive expedited EB1 or EB2 green cards following rigorous vetting. This landmark program fulfills President Trump's promise to attract the world's most successful entrepreneurs and investors to America while guaranteeing they have skin in the game. And of course, we already read that. So we'll just roll on to the next thing. The next topic from Eric Daugherty, breaking: Caroline Leavitt nukes the Democrats as the greatest con artist in American politics. Guess we'll just hear that for ourselves. Looks like we got a series of quotes that we're going to end up hearing in the video, so I'm just going to go straight to the video. Here we go.
Democrats are the greatest con artists in American politics. They are pretending to champion the issue of affordability when they themselves created the worst inflation crisis in a generation. You can't create a problem and then turn around and say, I'm the best person to fix it. No, that's why President Trump was reelected, to fix it, and that's exactly what he's doing. So as President Trump has been screaming from the rooftops, Republicans need to remain tough and smart, and they need to be more vocal about touting the accomplishments of this administration. Again, inflation has slowed because of President Trump's economic policies. We see wages for the first time in 5 years are increasing by about $1,000 per the average American worker. We know wages were declining under this president. And as you mentioned, Ainsley, next spring, these tax rebates, that's real money back into the pockets of the American people, for workers who work overtime, for those who collect tips, for those who are on Social Security. They are going to see that money back in their pocketbooks, and every single Democrat on Capitol Hill voted against these historic tax cuts. So you can't say you're for the working man and woman when you vote to raise their taxes. The Republicans and President Trump have a proven economic formula and agenda that's working. Right. It's focused on bigger paychecks and lower prices, and that's what President Trump will talk about tonight.
All right, well, yeah, she certainly made some valid points. I mean, Trump did roll out the start of the COVID stimulus checks, though, which certainly was a contributor to inflation. It may have not been the primary driver, but that was a huge infusion of cash that was not labored over, which when you infuse a ton of cash, hundreds of billions, even in the trillions of dollars that wasn't labored over, that's typically what ends up happening is inflation. But also with the whole COVID thing happening, it was a novel virus, a lot of propaganda going around. We thought it was a lot more deadly than it turned out to be. So, there's a lot of, let's say, funny business going on behind the scenes. So, I'm not going to exactly fault Trump for that because, it's something that we didn't go through, and they were hyping it up as like the most deadly thing to ever happen to the human race. So to the point where they were locking down entire countries, man, like pretty much the entire world shut down. I even remember seeing images of what was it? Venice, Italy. There was no traffic anywhere in the city. So all of the sediment, all of the cloudiness in the water settled, and the water looked as clear as the Caribbean. It was absolutely pretty incredible, really, to be honest. But under Biden, there was the Inflation Reduction Act, which I don't have the exact number, but I'm sure it's probably got a T with it. The other one was Save America Act. I know there were two really big ones that that the Biden administration rolled out, which was in the trillions of dollars, which absolutely, certainly jacked up inflation. I mean, we lived through it. Most of us as adults, we had to pay our bills through it. We still are, and everything's still extremely expensive, at least compared to it was in 2019. Okay, so moving on to Speaker Mike Johnson. A stunning new report shows how broken Obamacare's subsidy system is. 23 out of 24 fraudulent applications were approved. It's like in the high 90 percentile. So 18 are still receiving coverage. So 18 out of 24. They're still getting benefits even though they've been found to be fraudulent. Tens of thousands of duplicate Social Security numbers have been used, and $94 million was paid for dead people. And Democrats want to extend this system with no reforms. Yeah, they don't. They don't want any reforms at all. They want nothing changed in any way, shape, or form. That's why whenever you hear a Democrat talking about extending the Affordable Care Act subsidies, they insert the word clean. They said they want a clean extension of the Affordable Care Act. You won't hear a single Democrat use the word Obamacare. They will never say Obamacare because they know how disastrous and how destructive it is. So they don't want to tie Obama, their Lord and Savior, to this healthcare disaster, even though we all know what it really is. So anyway, let's listen to Speaker Mike Johnson.
A new report by the Government Accountability Office, which I haven't seen too much written about yet. You should look into that. It is an eye-opener as well. It makes clear why it would be a dereliction of duty to just extend subsidies without massive reforms to them. Okay, over the last 2 years, this is investigators at the Government Accountability Office. Okay, they submitted 24 fraudulent applications for the ACA subsidies, the Unaffordable Care Act subsidies, Obamacare. Okay, of the 24 fraudulent applications that they created intentionally to just see what would happen, 23 of them were approved. These applications were completely fraudulent. The investigators did not submit any Social Security numbers, citizenship documentation, or reported income documents. And 23 of the 24 applications were still approved. 18 of those, by the way, are still receiving coverages they were as of September of this year. That means the Obamacare exchange and insurers didn't verify any of the information they were supposed to under the law, and they proceeded to pay tens of thousands of dollars to insurance companies for people who do not exist. Okay? The GAO report also found that 29,000 Social Security numbers in 2023 and 68,000 in 2024 were used to receive more than 1 year's worth of insurance coverage. In other words, multiple people were utilizing the same Social Security numbers to openly defraud the American taxpayers. The GAO also found that more than $94 million was sent to insurers on behalf of dead people.
Well, I hope we get at least 60,000 arrests.
This is the system that Democrats in Congress want to extend without reform. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's Steve Scalise for sure. I think that might be Tom Emmer who's over there. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's who that is. Okay, so we're going to move on to the press conference from the House Democrats. As I did with the Trump roundtable, I'm just going to play a few minutes of it. Hopefully at least get the full opening statement out of the way, because of course after they give their big opening statement and they say whatever it is they want to say, then they open up questions to the press, and that usually takes up most of the video's time when they do Q&A. And then right after this, I've got the House Republicans, and they do their leadership press conference. So I figured we'd start with the Democrats, roll down to the Republicans. So let's see what they're going to say.
Hello, everyone.
About a half an hour in total.
Honored as always to be joined by Vice Chair Ted Lieu, and also
Come on, Democrats, this quality is atrocious.
McBride and Shamari Figures, new members to Congress. Who
yeah, right,
have
1080p.
been amazing advocates for their communities, for their regions, and honored to have them here. We're here today because Donald Trump and House Republicans are failing the American people. They're failing to address the healthcare crisis that they've created. They're failing to lower costs.
Back in the discussion, because he never left the discussion.
For hardworking Americans. Families are struggling to get by, yet Republicans continue to be more focused on building on the bidding of their billionaire class friends than helping people that they represent.
That's a talking point they use all the time. I still failed to find the connection between the healthcare crisis with giving tax breaks to billionaires. They put those two talking points hand in hand all the time. Virtually every single Democrat does that. I show that all the time on this show.
Ahead of the holidays, Americans are seeing prices go up for gifts and groceries. and the family gatherings that they are.
It's called inflation, dude. It's called inflation. Groceries, they're always going to get more expensive. They always have and they always will. Usually it's at a rate of around 2%, but unfortunately under Biden, it went up a total of 30%, at least from 2019 until the end of 2024. That's about the average rate that groceries went up in prices. And ever since Trump took over, it's the number that I read was about 3%. And of course, that's not going to apply to each and every single grocery item. There's some that went up a little more than others, but that's just the nature of things. It's just how it works.
Planning are becoming more expensive. On top of that, Republicans have no real plan to ensure Americans' healthcare premiums don't skyrocket before the end of the year.
Look, I'll give them credit on that. Republicans, they still haven't given us anything yet. They said that they're supposed to be rolling out something, I believe it was tomorrow, that they're supposed to be giving us whatever it is that they're planning on doing with the healthcare issue. So, I mean, just like the Democrats, I'm waiting to hear what the Republicans have planned. They should have had something on the table for years and years. I'm sure that they had the opposite plan of Obamacare, or whatever the Republican form of dealing with healthcare in general, when the Democrats were passing Obamacare, because they got 0 Republican votes on that. So I'm assuming there's been something that was tabled years and years ago that they could at least dust off and brainstorm and put together something, but I'm still waiting, just like Democrats. I do agree with them there.
And stood for that even just moments ago. For months, House Democrats have been sounding the alarm that Republicans need to work with us on extending the Affordable Care Act.
Oh, now we're hitting turbulence. Plane's starting to go down already.
Low for American families. And we've put forward a plan that has the support of every single member of the Democratic caucus. We only need 4 Republicans to join with us in signing a discharge petition to prevent the American people from losing their health care coverage.
Yeah, that's their big buzz phrase of the week. We only need 4 Republicans.
Coverage, they don't stop getting sick. They don't stop needing medication. They don't stop needing to take their kids to the doctor. If they can't afford to go to the doctor, they won't see one, or they'll go to the emergency room, which is the highest cost, most expensive way.
Yeah, no thanks to Obamacare.
And limits are already.
That's why emergency rooms are fucking expensive.
Which Republicans will be brave enough to join us? We just don't know. The American people can't afford inaction from Republicans, and it's time that they put politics aside.
Well, look, even if they got 4 Republicans to join them and they pass something in the House, it still has to go through the Senate anyway, so it's basically a lost cause regardless if they get 4 Republicans or not.
And do the right thing. Lower costs, save
all about politics.
Put the American people first. Now turn it over to Vice Chair Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Chairman
Right, come on, Dickweed, what do you got to say?
I am so honored to be here today with 2 of our amazing freshmen, Shamari Figures and Sarah McBride. I also want to
the first woman
note
this, the first woman
had
that.
an election yesterday in America, and I want to congratulate Eric Gissler in Georgia for flipping a state House district. And just to give you some context, Democrats lost that district last term by 22 points. He won it last night. And I want to congratulate Eileen Higgins, the incoming mayor of Miami. She flipped that seat from red to blue, and she overperformed by 20 points. She is the first Democrat in nearly 30 years who's going to be mayor of Miami. And I dare Florida Republicans to try mid-decade redistricting, because we're going to win the seats that you have to weaken among Republican incumbents if you try this. Now, we have
so they're trying to attack everybody on the state level now, or the city level.
Electricity costs are surging, grocery prices continue to increase, and healthcare costs are skyrocketing. What is the President of the United States focused on? I'm just going to read you one of his many posts on social media. This one was from 2 days ago.
Yeah, let's go for it.
The only reason Marjorie Trader Brown, green turns brown under stress, went bad is that she was jilted by the President of the United States. Certainly not the first time she has been jilted. Too much work, not enough time, and her ideas are now really bad. She sort of reminds me of a rotten apple. Marjorie is not America First or MAGA because nobody could have changed her views so fast, and her new views are those of a very dumb person. That was proven last night when washed-up Trump-hating 60 Minutes correspondent Leslie Stahl, who still owes me an apology from when she attacked me on the show with serious conviction that Hunter Biden's laptop from hell was produced by Russia, not Hunter himself, totally proven wrong, interviewed a very poorly prepared trader who in her confusion made many really stupid statements. My real problem
Okay.
with the show, however, wasn't the low IQ trader. It was that the new ownership of 60 Minutes Paramount would allow a show like this to air. They're no better than the old ownership who just paid me millions of dollars for fake reporting about your favorite president, me. Since they brought it, 60 Minutes has actually gotten worse. Oh well, far worse things can happen. P.S. I hereby demand a complete and total apology, though far too late to be meaningful, from Leslie Stahl in 60 Minutes for incorrect and libelous statements about Hunter's
They'll
laptop.
settle for millions, I'm
President
sure.
DJ.
Everybody's settling with Trump for millions.
Oh, now
That's
it's
all
my
you
great
got?
honor to introduce
Come on, Dick
an
Weed.
amazing freshman from Alabama, the great Representative Shamari Figures.
Thank you, Congressman Lou. Look, we're in the middle of a healthcare crisis, and the stakes could not be higher. Millions of Americans rely on healthcare subsidies.
Why are we in a
to be
healthcare
able to
crisis?
afford
Oh, yeah,
coverage.
Obamacare,
50,000
right?
of
Yeah,
those Americans
Obamacare.
are located in my district in Alabama.
What else would have caused it?
And it's not just a talking point back home. This is real life for people. I represent one of the poorest districts in the country. The individual median income in my district is just north of $32,000. To say that another way, 50% of the wage earners in my district earn less than $32,000.
Yeah, we know what median
so when we
means.
talk about 50,000 people's healthcare premiums on average increasing by a little more than double in a district where the income is just north of 32,000.
Yeah, but people who earn that little, people who are impoverished, are they really paying anything, or are they being 100% subsidized? I highly doubt that people who are only earning like $25,000, $30,000 a year are going to be paying $1,000 a month for their premiums. It's probably almost 100% covered already.
$1,000 on average. It's more than a talking point. It's something that hits people in real ways in real life. It's not something people can afford. And beyond the personal side of it, my district as a whole is one of the worst for healthcare access and outcomes in the country. I have 13 counties in my district. You can only deliver babies in 2 of the 13. 10 of the 13 counties either have hospitals that have closed, are in the process of converting to REHs so they don't close, or are on literal financial life support under the threat of closure. And by the way, the largest hospital in my state capital of Montgomery, which I also represent.
You know, I don't have time to do the research, but I bet some of those hospitals are probably going to get some of that $50 billion infusion that was entered with the One Big Beautiful Bill that's going directly to rural hospitals, namely, and I'm sure there's going to be other facilities that $50 billion, that's $50,000 million. That's a lot of money that's going to go around to these facilities. And I'm sure some of those hospitals that he's naming are probably going to get quite a bit of it.
Which is one of only 2 hospitals in that county is in the middle of a bankruptcy. And so healthcare access is something that is
We got to thank Obamacare for that, probably, or just
to make
incompetence.
the cost of healthcare unaffordable for people.
I mean, how the hell can a hospital go bankrupt?
Put it completely
Yeah,
out
for
of
real.
reach for people is something that is irresponsible and something that we have the ability to be able to
Sounds like
stop,
corruption
because
to me.
It's going to put more stress on the hospitals that we still have. And people are going to continue to suffer some of the worst healthcare outcomes because all of that I just...
Well, dude, you're failing hospitals. Why is that a federal government problem? That's a local problem because we don't have failing. Look, there are some failing hospitals, I'm sure, around the country, but overall, like 51% of hospitals are probably not failing nationwide.
It's all in a district that has the 3rd lowest life expectancy in America, and so this is something that we have to get Republicans on board to fix. We just need a few. We just need a few to join us to do the right thing.
Well, you got to listen to Republicans
we need
too,
a few
sir.
To step up to the plate.
Democrats have been very
show that
one-sided
they understand
lately.
and they know that supporting life doesn't end at birth. It is something that we can do and something that we need to do here in Congress to make sure that the American people in the richest nation that the world has ever known, that healthcare coverage, healthcare access is not something that is a luxury that is only available to the wealthy. It's something that is only available to the few. And so I am proud to stand here with my colleagues to bring up this issue once again, yet again, something that we have been pressuring now for since I've been
How
here
much
in
time we
Congress
at?
for
8 minutes.
part of the last
Want to try to keep
10
it
or
under
11
10.
months, but something that obviously Democrats have been pushing for decades. And we're going to continue to wave this flag. We're going to continue to beat this drum. We're going to continue to do this.
Dude, you already
on
pushed
behalf
it.
of
It's
the
called
constituents
Obamacare,
in
and it's
Alabama
ruined
2nd
everything.
Congressional District and those across this country because it's the right thing to do. And with that, I'll turn it over to Representative Sarah McBride.
Well, at least it didn't say healthcare is a right.
Thank you
Those rights
so
can't
much
cost
to
money.
my fellow freshman representative figures, and thank you so much, Chair Aguilar and Vice Chair Liu, for inviting us today. Across Delaware and around the country, families are being hit from every direction. At the grocery store, at the pharmacy, and of course now in their healthcare premiums.
Democrats
In
and Biden.
2024, Donald Trump promised the American people that he would lower costs on day one.
Yeah, the rate is
But
going
we
down.
all know
It did.
that whether it's his business partners, people who worked for him, or the American people, the one through line throughout Donald Trump's life is that he has never met a promise that he was not willing to break. Because 1 year into the second Trump presidency, all we have are a litany of broken promises and billionaire tax breaks.
Here we go, the tax breaks.
This affordability.
Okay, all right. I will give her 1 minute to elaborate on those billionaire tax breaks. I really hope she does, because none of these Democrats have ever explained exactly how these tax breaks pertain to the healthcare crisis. And I still fail to get that connection.
Crisis is not a hoax. It is a choice by congressional Republicans and by Donald Trump. A choice to impose a tariff tax on small businesses and consumers. A choice to cut food assistance. And a choice to insert a $1
tariff
trillion
tax
bomb
on small
into the
businesses?
center of the American healthcare system. That bomb is now going off. Premiums are skyrocketing. The largest
Thanks
cut
to
to
Obamacare.
Medicaid in American history is on the horizon. Rural hospitals and doctors' offices are already closing. Trump Care has arrived. And it is dangerous and it is deadly.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, she's just going to go through the talking points, the propaganda, all that good stuff. So, but I will repost it, though, if you want to check out the rest of it. You know, I would love nothing more than to watch all of it, but I just can't get to all of it because it's a lot to get through. But I will take a quick minute. I'm just curious to see what the answer to this is going to be. How much money was spent on the Democrat candidate for the Miami race, which really, at the end of the day, not exactly all that relevant because, you know, they still won by a pretty wide margin if what they said is true, if it was by 20%, but I'll take their word for it. So anyway, let's see. They spent about $881,000 overall through her campaign affiliated committees by late September 2025. Let's see. Direct campaign account, $650,000 raised via her political committee. Okay, whatever. I was just curious to get the answer to that. So let me do one more. A tariff tax on small businesses. Oh, wait, hold on. I already got that typed out. Oh, meant to write short. I got to write short, or else it'll give me a really long-winded answer. Let's see. Yes, tariffs act as taxes on imported goods, directly raising costs for small businesses. Okay, so that's what they're talking about. That in a roundabout way, that it costs more money for small businesses because of tariffs. Let's see. Estimated 85 to 100 billion annually in the U.S. as of 2025. Importers, often small firms, pay these duties, squeezing margins or forcing price hikes. Well, yeah, importers are going to pay a certain amount. There's no doubt about that. But all right. So anyway, we'll just go ahead and move on to the next thing from House Republicans happening now. House Republicans weekly leadership press conference. Tune in to hear Chairwoman Rep. Lisa McClain, Rep. Jen Kiggins, GOP Majority Whip Emmer, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, and Speaker Johnson. Again, I'll give it 10 minutes at the most. I'm going to honestly try to keep it under 10 minutes just so I can move on because there's still a lot to get to. So, all right, where are they going to start? Where are we starting this?
Families through the
All right,
roof
here
match.
Oh, shit.
Well,
There
good
we go.
morning, everybody. Hope you all
Good
had a
morning.
good weekend. Let me be clear
Good
and
weekend.
start off with
Dude, it's
saying
Wednesday.
that Democrats didn't just cause inflation.
Yes, 10 hours
they
ago.
lit the match, they watched it burn, and then they poured gasoline on the flames.
Oh,
They
do
buried
tell.
families under regulations, spent trillions on pet projects, and railed
Green
against
energy.
American paychecks to appease who? Their radical base. And Americans
The
will
billionaires,
never
the
forget
radical
who
base.
did that, because we will continue to remind them. During 4 long years of Biden inflation, hardworking
inflation.
families actually did the right thing. They tightened their belts, they canceled vacations, they put groceries back on the conveyor belt.
I don't know about all that, dude. If you look at the internet, you watch TikTok and stuff like that, people aren't really tightening a whole lot. People are just digging themselves further and further into debt. People are still going on vacations. I imagine if you look up like Carnival Cruise Lines, or if you look up any vacation-based companies, they probably haven't lost any money over the last few years. In fact, I'm sure they just continue growing.
And they're drained their savings just to keep the lights on.
Yeah, I'm sure people drain their savings.
Bidenomics sent energy costs skyrocketing. Under Bidenomics, and in those 4 years, let me just paint the picture for everybody. Home heating oil shot up 44%. Gasoline climbed 48%. Electricity costs went through the roof,
$5 a gallon.
rising 29%. And
They
abundant
depleted the strategic
American
petroleum
natural
reserve.
gas rose 27%. Those were under the 4 years during President Biden. That economic
energy's all Trump's
punishment
fault.
crushed the American dream for millions of Americans. But there's actually good news. Thanks to President Trump and Republicans in Congress, the comeback is underway, and America loves a good comeback story. Now, it won't happen overnight. You don't rebuild a burned down home in one day. And after 4 years of economic arson, there's a lot to clean up. But House Republicans are here with the fire extinguisher. We are rebuilding the economy that working families can afford, and so that working families can thrive again. This week, we're laser focused on passing legislation that actually lowers costs. And guess what? It's already working. Gas prices are at a 4-year low. Grocery prices are finally coming down, and wages are actually rising. And next year, Americans will see bigger paychecks because of the Working Families Tax Cut Acts. Remember, the Democrats voted and they wanted to give every single American a pay raise. Every single American, the Democrats voted to raise your taxes. Thank God Republicans voted to not let that happen.
Yeah, Democrats always want to raise taxes.
Last week, we cut red tape and peeled back Biden's burdensome regulations, and we're doing it again this week. This is all part of an agenda to lower costs and increase paychecks for hardworking families. Real reforms to roll back Washington's overreach and put the power back where it belongs, with the workers, with the families, and with actually the job creators. Government in Washington doesn't need more power. We actually believe that the power lies with the people, unlike the Democrats who want to tell you what to do, when to do it, how to do it.
They want absolute
Democrats
power.
Believe they are a better steward
party
of your
over
money
country.
than you are. We don't believe that. That's why we're putting the power back in your hands. And what are Democrats doing?
We'll see.
Again, they're gonna. You think they're gonna vote to lower costs? I don't think so.
No, they never will.
The Democrats will vote against giving you bigger paychecks. I think the Democrats will vote against relief for American families. They're fanning the flames of the crisis that they ignited, right? So we will continue our work without them. And watch how they vote, right? We will continue our work without them, because asking Democrats to fix inflation is like asking an arsonist to join the fire department. This week, we'll vote to lower...
Look, I don't agree with that at all. I don't think she should be pushing that messaging like, well, we're just going to turn our backs completely. Look, they've got plenty of reasons to turn their backs on the Republicans, but it's not really the messaging that everyday people probably want to hear. You want to say, look, the door's always open. The table's always here. There's plenty of seats around the table that are empty because Democrats refuse to come and sit down. So if they want to come down and join the conversation, they're more than welcome to. But so far, no dice. They haven't.
Or electricity prices.
That's what I would have gone
Secure supply chains and modernize permitting to make energy more affordable again. Because House Republicans are cleaning up Bidenomics, ending Biden inflation, and restoring an America that is strong and respected again. We are restoring an America that is affordable and prosperous again for every single hardworking family. And another piece of important legislation that will be on the floor this week is the NDAA. And I don't think there's anyone better here to talk about it than a Representative Kiggins. So right now, I yield to Representative Kiggins.
All right, I'll give him about a minute.
Thank you.
Or
Well,
her
good
about a
morning.
minute.
I'm
and then
Congresswoman Jen
we'll
Kiggins,
move
and
on.
I proudly represent Virginia's 2nd Congressional District. I'm also a Navy veteran, former helicopter pilot, a Navy spouse, and now a
Steve
proud
Gleason
Navy
checking
mom.
out his card.
So it's certainly a privilege to be here today to talk about this year's National Defense Authorization Act, which should see a vote on the floor today.
Yeah,
this
3,000 pages, $900 billion
of money that we can send to our warfighters and to our military families. There's a large chunk of that's dedicated to ships, submarines, aircraft, the actual warfighting resources and tools that we need to just exemplify peace through strength throughout the world. That part can't be overstated. We've done so much with this administration just to reprioritize peace through strength. That's how we keep peace in the world, is by being that deterrent, by being that strong fighting force, but also taking care of our military families and our men and women in uniform. We did so much good work last Congress with the Quality of Life Task Force, and we continued that work into this year's NDAA. We looked at pay raises. We gave a 3.8% pay raise to our servicemen and women. We looked at housing. We put $1.5 billion back into housing infrastructure improvements. We know that there's a lot of room for improvement there, and I'm thankful that the Secretary of War has prioritized a task force to specifically look at where we are housing our men and women. We looked at child care. We have money specifically dedicated to new child care facilities. We looked at DoD education. We've pressing on DODEA to look at things like no cell phones in schools that are on military installations. There's a lot of money in there for health care that we want to make sure we're providing good health care for our men and women who serve and their families. We put other things in there for licensures to make it easy for providers to be able to serve our military community. And we even looked at things that were making it unifying the accession process, because we heard a lot of challenges with young people who want to serve, that they're being looked at differently for different types of medical history issues. So we changed those things. A lot of meaningful change. One of the things I'm most excited about is how we've prioritized our military Sea Lift Command. In the Navy, you know, we don't have as many ships as we probably should, and we're working on that shipbuilding exercise. But in the meantime, I have my military Sea Lift Command folks who are stepping up, who are civilian partners and providing that peace through strength on the seas. And we left them out a little bit of the discussion with the quality of life issues. So we included them back this time. We took out pay caps for military Sea Lift Command pay. We made sure that our military Sea Lift Command members could shop at the commissaries and exchanges. We're protecting our commissaries, making sure that they are available and there for our military families. So a lot of good things to take care of the people who serve, but then also that technology integration piece, the contract awarding, the procurement acquisition reform. We've done many, many good things to the tune of over $900 billion. So it's a privilege to have been a part of the team that put that together.
Okay, all right. So we got that done. Again, I'll go ahead and repost this also, of course. So that will be in the description, direct link to my profile. Or, of course, you can go to House GOP. 9 hours ago was when they posted it, 10:19 a.m. And real quick, for the House Democrats, they posted at 11 o'clock a.m. exactly. So it'd be a little easier to find that one, given the time. So we'll go ahead and move to Congresswoman Sarah McBride. Let's be clear. Oh, by the way, she's a Democrat, if you didn't know. Donald Trump and the Republicans in Congress created this healthcare affordability crisis. Their healthcare plan was the big ugly bill. Massive cuts to Medicaid and Medicare, fraud, waste, and abuse, and higher premiums for millions. So what they're doing now is like an arsonist, lighting a house on fire and then showing up with the garden hose. Everybody's talking arson today. It doesn't fix anything, and it makes an even bigger mess.
With regard to the Republican conference's proposals, quote unquote, on the healthcare affordability crisis, the one that they created, this is like an arsonist setting fire to a house and then bringing a garden hose to try to put out a 5-alarm fire. These are no solutions to actually grapple
These metaphors
with
are
the
hilarious.
healthcare crisis that they created. The Republican healthcare plan was the big ugly bill. The Republican healthcare plan is Trump Care, which we are living under right now.
Trump
The
Care.
largest
No,
cut to
it's
Medicaid
actually
in American
Obamacare,
history,
but nice try.
A massive cut to Medicare in action, letting the ACA tax credits expire. That is the Republican healthcare plan, and that has been the Republican healthcare plan for decades.
Because it's a failing
every
system. We all know
step
that.
of the way, Republicans in Congress have tried to prevent progress in expanding access to
Progressivism.
healthcare and have tried
How
to
dare
cut
they?
healthcare for the American people. And it certainly stands in stark contrast to our proposals to extending the Affordable Care Act tax
That's
credit,
your only proposal, lady.
expanding
That's
Medicaid,
it.
to improving
expand,
Medicare
dump more
and the
money into it,
guarantee that every
change
single
nothing at all.
American can get health care without breaking the bank.
Yeah, that's so progressive of you. Don't change a single thing about the Affordable Care Act, about Obamacare, which is pretty ironic, isn't it? How they named it the Affordable Care Act, and it's become anything but that. So, all right, moving on. John Kennedy. Democrats don't actually want to solve the problems with Obamacare. They just want to maintain health care as an election issue. I think he's onto something
We
here.
need to do a health care bill as part of reconciliation. We need to invite the Democrats to join with us, and a few might, but most
There
of
you
them
go.
won't because they don't want to solve
He's on the right track.
They want to maintain it as an issue in the elections. That doesn't mean we ought to do nothing.
Of course they do.
Can you do that, though,
we need to
before the
reform.
premiums go up? Can you get that done before people start having letters in the mail that say, I'm going to be paying, double what I was paying before, and looking around and saying, whose fault is this?
No, and that's the Democrats' fault. They shut down government.
Again, for the billionth time.
We
It's Obamacare and the government
should have been doing this, talking about this back in October. But frankly, back in October, we should have started a reconciliation bill, and the Republicans should have done this all on their own without Democratic support if the Democrats don't want to join us. We know how to fix the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. We know how to stop the fraud.
Well, I would sure as hell like to hear it.
Do
What
PBM
the Republicans are
reform.
proposing.
We know how to do site neutrality. We know how to design a healthcare delivery system. It looks like somebody designed it on purpose. But I'm sorry, I hope I'm wrong, but I doubt it. The Democrats aren't going to help us. No one's coming to save us but ourselves. We need to do.
Well, so Republicans, all I've heard is that they don't want to give billions of dollars directly to the insurance companies, whether or not if a patient it ends up even being seen by a doctor. Instead, they want to put it into healthcare savings accounts for the individuals, for the patients, the Americans. That's what they want to do. That's about all I've heard so far. So anyway, moving to Senate Republican Communications Center. And looks like this was on December 9th. So this is a little over 24 hours old. For like at least 90% of the post on my daily episodes, I make an effort to keep everything under 24 hours, trying to keep it as current as possible. So they say after instigating the longest government shutdown in history over healthcare, Democrats are putting forward an unserious bill that keeps healthcare costs high and enshrines rampant waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayers' hard-earned money because they want the clean extension. We already know the fraud's there. We already heard what Speaker Mike Johnson said with regard to the millions of dollars being paid for people who aren't even alive anymore, and a lot of fraud happening with the Social Security numbers and everything. But the Democrats, they don't want to fix any of that. They just want to extend it, hence the clean extension of the Affordable Care Act. So they move on to say, Democrats' proposed extension of Biden's COVID bonuses would spend tens of billions of taxpayer dollars to do nothing to lower healthcare costs for Americans. No sources here except SRCC, so like they're citing themselves as the source, so not really crazy about that. But Biden's COVID bonuses mask the failures of Obamacare. Obamacare makes health insurance unaffordable, and the taxpayer pays supersized COVID credits to insurers who then enroll people who never end up using their insurance. I mean, probably the majority do use their insurance in some way, shape, or form, but there are a few who don't. And in fact, there are some. Wait, hold on. Okay. Yeah, there's some that they have discovered that they don't even realize that they even have Obamacare. They were just enrolled automatically without their knowledge. So 12 million enrollees have no medical claims, so insurers pocket the full subsidy. No one in the system has incentives to lower costs and protect taxpayers. And then they go on to say, plus the expiration of Biden's COVID bonuses accounts for only a small fraction of expected premium increases next year. Obamacare 2026 premiums largely unaffected by the expiration of Biden's COVID credits. Expiring COVID credits are responsible for 3.3% of total 2026 premium. I didn't know that. So 2025 base premium. Okay, so what's the source? The source is KFF analysis of insurer rate filings. Quote, how much and why ACA marketplace premiums are going up in 2026. Is that reputable, KFF? All right, so 83.3%, the 2025 base premium, and then the light blue is the 2026 increase from all other factors, and then the 3.3%, we already got that. And then here on the left, benchmark plan premium for a 50-year-old enrollee at 200% of the federal poverty level. So that's what we're looking at. And then this one from, let's see, same thing. Read more on how Democrats' plan does nothing to address the rampant fraud, waste, and abuse of the Obamacare and Biden's COVID bonuses scheme. And I'll just link it in the description if you want to take a look at that. and we'll move on to the next topic from House Democrats. 3 hours ago, we may have actually already heard this, but it's less than a minute, so I'll at least start it. No American should have to go without the health care they need to live and thrive. House Democrats are fighting to save health care.
Trump care has arrived, and it is dangerous, and it is deadly. I hear it
I think we already heard this, didn't we?
Day back in Delaware. Dave, a constituent of mine in Newcastle, pays $350 a month right now.
I know, we got to hear the sob stories.
Plan. Next year, without the ACA tax...
Newsflash, Democrats, it's expensive for everybody.
Credits, those premiums will jump to $1,200 a month. Without this tax credit, they will lose their coverage that is keeping his wife alive. People like
won't
Dave
lose
are
it.
doing
It'll just go up.
right, but Republicans in Congress
They'll choose to
continue
end it.
to fail them. People deserve
Thanks to
so
Obamacare.
much better than what congressional Republicans and Donald Trump have offered them. I ran for office after my experience as a caregiver to my husband during his battle with terminal cancer. And I simply do not believe that in the wealthiest nation on earth, any American should have to go without the health care that they need to live and thrive.
Yeah, well, even like the top level of healthcare isn't going to save, people from terminal cancer. Steve Jobs, for example, he had $9 billion to his name. There's only so much that can be done. However, yeah, it would be nice if everybody has, access to healthcare. There's just a simple question. Money. Where's the money going to come from? Because the proposals that they have for universal basic healthcare, or not basic healthcare, universal healthcare in general, they estimate that it would cost Americans $3 trillion per year over the next 10 years. And I'm sure the 10 years after that, it would be at a higher rate thanks to inflation and things like that. So $3 trillion a year, not really sure where they can get that money from unless they just hike up taxes, which isn't going to solve anything. It's only going to make everything just more expensive. All right, so Senator James Lankford. In Oklahoma, over 6 years, Obamacare rates increased 198%, while commercial rates only went up 29%. Very interesting. There's a very real problem with the structure of Obamacare. We can't keep throwing money at the problem. There needs to be real change.
In my state in Oklahoma, we asked our insurance commissioner, take a 6-year snapshot and tell us what's happened in the marketplace, the Obamacare marketplace, without the subsidies. If the subsidies went away, what was the increase? And for the commercial insurance from my state, what changed during that time period? For Obamacare, the rates have gone up 198% in 6 years. In commercial insurance in my state, it's gone up 29%.
A lot of people getting rich off Obamacare.
There's a very real problem with the structure of how Obamacare actually works. And the request has been,
clearly,
let's just put more subsidies on top of it, more subsidies on top of it, add billions and billions more in taxpayer dollars to cover up the problem that is underneath. There is a problem in the way that Obamacare is actually created and how it's actually operating and what it's causing, not just for that group in the marketplace, but what it's causing for everybody else, even people that are not in the marketplace at all, how that's driving up rates.
Well, I would love nothing more than for him to peel that onion back so we can hear exactly what is that underlying cause. What is the cancer, now that we're using metaphors, that is Obamacare? Where's the tumor? Well, I mean, it really is just Obamacare in and of itself, really. But all right, so U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy, MD. Democrats' plan continues to send your money to health insurance companies and doesn't lower healthcare costs. Under our plan, we give you a health savings account so you can shop for the best deal. It trusts the patient to be in charge of her care, lowering her costs.
Healthcare costs are out of control. What Democrats are doing does nothing to control that. Republicans, giving somebody a health savings account gives them an incentive to shop for the best deal, and studies show that works. The mama, she will take care of her money in that health savings account. That forces competition, that lowers cost.
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be a better solution. If you have competition, of course, it's going to drive down costs. I mean, that's the nature of capitalism, at least from the consumer's perspective. But yeah, if you're just getting healthcare from just one single entity, no matter what, you got to go to the same place. I mean, they could charge you whatever the hell they want, and that's just the way it is. And that's also a problem. If you live in an area where it's difficult to get competitive, like car insurance, for instance, if you're stuck with the only provider, they could basically charge you whatever they want. I'm sure there's some laws in place where they can't, price gouge you necessarily. All right, but anyway, Senator Mike Crapo, this healthcare crisis may be of Democrats making, but Republicans are offering solutions. Let's hear what he has to say.
My colleagues on the other side of the aisle created the premium tax credits as a part of the Obamacare system because they did not trust their own policy to make health care insurance affordable without shifting the burden of paying for it from enrollees to taxpayers. When the original premium tax credits failed to bring down premiums, they enhanced the tax credits. And then when that did not work, they extended the enhancements. They did all this without a single Republican vote. They also chose the current expiration date that they now say must be changed. They created the very cliff that they now oppose. Our colleagues on the other side of the aisle have had years to offer serious suggestions on how to reform the Obamacare subsidies.
Yeah, but to be fair, Republicans had years too.
We are told there's no workable option except to extend them again. It seems that these subsidies were never truly meant to be temporary.
No.
But they should be.
Of course not.
We do not have to go along with their last-minute extension, this time at the cost of $83 billion.
Yeah, they just refuse to own it. They're committed. I mean, once Democrats, they commit themselves to something, it's just impossible for them to let it go. They just have to come up with any reason under the sun why it's such a good thing and we can't live without it. Okay, RNC research. Looks like we're going to move on past the Obamacare, Affordable Care Act, all that. And RNC research says Gavin Newsom gushes about how he wants to see the gender mutilation of children. That's a pretty bold statement. So Newsom, I want to see trans kids. There's no governor that's done more pro-trans legislation than I have. Okay.
So we didn't get into trans sports. That's an issue no one wants to hear about because 80% of the people listening disagree with my position on this. But it comes from my heart, not just my head. It wasn't a political evolution. Your position being that I don't think it's. I want to see trans kids. I have a trans godson. There's no governor that's signed more pro-trans legislation than I have, and no one has been a stronger advocate for the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, unbelievable. It's just ridiculous, man. You gotta let kids go through puberty, and then they can figure themselves out. Not trying to get them to change their freaking sex. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Okay. Yeah. Which, by the way, imagine if he becomes president, having to listen to that voice. I think I'd rather listen to Secretary Kennedy's voice, to be honest. All right, so GOP, Jasmine Crockett, I challenge somebody to go and find a clip of a Democrat invoking violence. Well, here you go, Jasmine Crockett. They got something for you.
Go and find a clip of a Democrat invoking violence.
You really want them to take on that.
For good. I will go and take Trump out tonight. We're going to fight it.
And not out to dinner.
In the courts. And we're going to fight it in the streets.
When they go low, we're going to bury them below the Capitol. That's what we're going to do.
We take them to the mud and choke them out.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings.
My God, dude, we got 2 minutes.
Maybe there will be.
We're walking down a damn different path. We're fighting fire with fire. And we're going to punch these sons of bitches in the mouth.
By taking behind the gym and
that sounded a little violent.
Punch back, kick back, dunk over their heads, and win some fucking power.
Fight back, punch back, and make sure that they stay down. And you know what? Kick them when they're down because they deserve it.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching.
We are at war. And that's why the gloves are off and I say bring it on.
We are not only gonna punch you back, but we are gonna knock you out.
Like we're in a war right now to save this country, and so you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
Well, I am here to tell you not only are we gonna punch back, but we about to beat you down.
That was.
Damn it, shut down the city! We are at war!
When they go low, we kick them.
Even in states where Donald Trump won big, that it does you any good running away from Donald Trump. I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
Let's make sure we show up wherever we have to show up. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Yeah, of course we heard that. So, all right, so that was 20. Honestly, I'd probably give maybe 15 or 16. A couple of them, I don't know if they really crossed the threshold into violence. with their words. But, so I guess to put it back to Jasmine Crockett, why don't you try to find Republicans? To hell with the 20. Why don't you try to find 5 or try to find 4 instances of Republicans speaking that level of violent rhetoric? But I don't know, man. All I got to say is cling to the Second Amendment for dear life. For the love of God. All right. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. 6 hours ago. Governor, why do you choose to stand with the criminal, illegal, alien, R-words, murderers, child S abusers, and gang members? We're taking off Chicago's streets instead of choosing to stand with American citizens. And J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois. Illinois, in the face of cruelty and intimidation, has chosen solidarity and support. That should not be overlooked. Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, and Gregory Bovino tried to appeal to our lesser instincts, but the best of us are standing up to the worst of them. Okay, well, that was a little vague, but all right. And we'll move on to the next thing. Scott Turner, Biden mandated landlords give special privilege to the unvetted and unchecked Afghans he allowed into our country. No credit checks, no occupancy limits, no enforcement of fair housing laws. HUD tore that guidance down to restore enforcement of our fair housing laws. And he's the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. So we'll hear what he has to say on Fox Business.
So recently rolled back more Biden-era guidance that you said was favoring Afghan refugees. Tell me about this. How are immigrants impacting the housing market from Afghanistan?
Yes, ma'am. And, I'm glad you brought that up. And, Maria, I know I'm not supposed to do this on TV, but I want to read
apply for
this
mortgages,
so the American people, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, understand what's going on during the Biden administration. Our HUD, Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity Office, we have taken down guidance that during the Biden administration encouraged landlords and property owners to forego regularly required credit checks for refugees, so they didn't have to do credit checks.
No credit.
It encouraged landlords
they probably had no
and
credit.
public
They came from
housing
Afghanistan.
authorities to exempt Afghan refugees from occupancy limits, so they can have as many people as they wanted living in HUD-funded housing. Also advise landlords and property owners to evade the fair housing laws, which we're supposed to uphold, evade the fair housing laws by publishing marketing materials in languages other than English so that they can market to Afghan refugees. That was what's going on during the Biden administration.
That should be a no-no.
But we have since withdrawn that and torn that guidance down to restore guidance that is for the American people.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that is incredible. That's pretty good news to hear. Very glad to hear that. Okay, from Homeland Security, 3 hours ago, this is a post from Axios, which Homeland Security reposted. And it says, Trump brings legal immigration to a screeching halt on Axios. So Trump brings legal immigration to a screeching halt. All right. All right, and it starts here. President Trump, oh no, we're going to get paywalled. All right, I'll see if I can get a workaround for that. President Trump promised the most deportations in decades to reverse illegal immigration, but the system for legal immigration is also buckling under his pressure. In just the last few weeks, the Trump administration has threatened to expand the travel ban list, paused all asylum decisions, and signaled it will reopen cases from the Biden administration. Any of these changes in isolation would put strain on the system. Doing them all at once could overwhelm it. And let me see if I can get, I don't think I'm going to be able to. I forgot that Axios paywalled everything. But I will do my very best. And under the circumstances, see if I can make this happen. Probably not. Yeah, it's not going to let me do it. Oh, well, that's all right. So let me see. See if I can find something similar to it. Let's head over to Google. And see if I can get, okay, so of course we got the Axios. All right, Political Wire. Maybe we can get it from here. All right. Yep. It looks like well, no. Damn it. I'd be able to get something at least from that. So let me see. I'm not familiar with I'm Chatty. I don't know about that. Maybe they did a copy paste of it. I don't know. Yeah. No, it doesn't look like it. The dangers of Trump's policies. All right. Well, yeah. Hold on a second. Immigration reform 11 hours ago. News December 10th. Probably not going. Oh, wait, here. Hold on. It does cite Axios. So, yeah, it's just going to take me back to the same article. Okay, whatever. Yeah, it's not going to let me in. That's all right. I'll just link it in the description if you just so happen to have an Axios account. And maybe one day I'll be able to get one of my own. So we'll just move on to the next thing. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement got another one 5 hours ago. Freezing Minneapolis weather won't stop our ICE officers from conducting operations, detaining illegal aliens, and making neighborhoods safe again. Reminder, if you lay a hand on an ICE officer, you will be arrested. Yeah, and you'll also face 20 years in prison, too.
He assaulted the police officer, even attempted to choke him and steal his weapon. Now, he was picked up, he was arrested, but then released before ICE could file a detainer. So yesterday, they had to put together a big special response team and go into the north side of Minneapolis to get him.
Yeah, they do that because they release them back onto the streets, so ICE has to go pick them up in public, and the Democrats want that because they're counting on the public to be around filming with their cameras, because everybody's got a camera in their pocket now, and that way they can use it to their advantage to push a bunch of nonsense propaganda.
If there was no sanctuary policies in a city like Minneapolis and St. Paul, we'd be able to get them at the jail.
Yeah.
But because they have those policies, we have to go look for them at the
disarmed,
house. And when we go
sitting
to
in
their house,
jail,
we're going to arrest
perfectly
anybody
safe.
that's illegal in that house.
Yep.
And that's
Putting
what
them
they
in
did.
direct
Two
danger.
more guys ICE says were in the U.S. illegally were found in that house. They were swept up in the raid. People in the neighborhood started waking up and blowing whistles. That drew a small crowd of protesters. And one of the protesters put her hands on the ICE agent, a little bit of a shove, if you will, trying to get through the perimeter. That was enough for her to be zip-tied and taken into federal custody. All of it instead of handing this individual over in the jail.
Yeah, that's something that the hilarious progressive leftists have been doing lately. They've been passing out whistles into immigrant communities. Like, you get a whistle, you get a whistle. If you see ICE, blow the whistle so everybody can run and hide, I guess. All right, anyway, so House Foreign Affairs Committee majority. There is no dispute Nicolas Maduro lost the election fair and square. It's about time he respects the will of the people. And this is from Vicegrad. Is that how you pronounce that? Vicegrad 24. Breaking, the chairman of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee chair tells Maduro that he lost the election and it's time for him to recognize that, quote, Mr. Maduro accept the election results and step down.
Your power is not permanent. Your violence will not prevail over people who rise and resist. Mr. Maduro, accept the election results and step down. Lay the foundation.
All right. Well, do you think he's really going to do that? I mean, probably not. He's definitely very well protected as president of Venezuela because the United States government, they've got a $50 million reward on him for his role as a drug kingpin. Okay, Homeland Security, quote, I'm so happy with Secretary Noam. We have a closed border. We have a border that is the best border in the country, or in the history of our country, so on and so forth. So let's just hear President Trump say it himself.
I read a story recently. I'm unhappy with Christie. I'm so happy with it. I mean, we have a closed border. We have a border that's the best border in the history of our country. Why would I be unhappy? She's fantastic, actually. No, we have a fantastic cabinet.
Yep, and he's said that repeatedly. But the mainstream news, they're trying to divide. They're trying to sow the seeds of chaos into the Trump administration, and it ain't working. So DOW rapid response. We got another one with reading a story that he was unhappy with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. See what he says about that.
I think my cabinet is fantastic. I read these same stories that I'm unhappy with this one or that one. And
Same
I'm
with Kash
not.
Patel.
I think the cabinet's done a great job.
Which ain't true.
I read a story that I was unhappy with Pete because he was attacking drug dealers. I said, that's not exactly right. I would say very much the opposite. Pete Hegseth has been phenomenal.
Well, you heard it straight from the man himself. He's very happy with these people, with his cabinet members. U.S. State Department, Near Eastern Affairs. We acknowledge that the Middle East cannot endure a persistent cycle of prolonged warfare. And this is going to be a removal of debris from a vital main road. If this is the same, I believe this might be the same footage, but they did post this 11 hours ago. If this is the footage I'm thinking of, it's not new. They filmed this at least a month ago, because I did play the same footage on the swamp about a month ago, but maybe it's different, maybe. Well, they're adding words this time. They didn't add words last time. It was just muted. So they're clearing the roads in Gaza. They're rebuilding Gaza. While the progressive leftists still keep screaming, free Gaza. All right, well, anyway, they posted that today, so I figured I'd show it. All right, the New York Times, 10 hours ago. Breaking news, a judge ruled that the Trump administration had kept the National Guard troops in Los Angeles illegally and ordered an end to the deployment. I'm not sure if they're going to appeal that. It wouldn't surprise me if they do. And this is going to come from the New York Times. I believe they also paywall, so I'm just going to get that ready. Yeah, see, there we go. All right, let me just try the same thing again. I also believe, just like Axios, it's going to be more of the same thing. New York Times, I don't think they usually give you the 5 free articles. Yeah, like some other publications do that. You can get around it by opening up a private tab, but yeah, it ain't gonna work. Ain't gonna work, but of course I'll link it. But anyway, that's not all I have from this story. I got a couple more posts about it, so it's all good. So Reuters, this is from Kyle Griffin. U.S. judge blocks Trump's National Guard deployment in Los Angeles. And there's a court filing, which we have here from Joyce Aline. The first paragraph of Judge Breyer's opinion granting an injunction in the California National Guard case is a banger. All right, well, we'll see what it says. The founders designed our government to be a system of checks and balances. Defendants, however, make clear that the only check they want is a blank one. A blank check? Okay, I don't know what that has to do with the National Guard trying to aid in getting illegal immigrants off the streets, but okay. No evidence that the execution of federal law is impeded in any way, let alone significantly. Once more, defendants have sent California guardsmen into other states, effectively creating a national police force made up of state troops. That they did. I believe they sent them up to Oregon, and maybe there is an argument to be made for that. In response to plaintiffs' motion to enjoin this conduct, defendants take the position that after a valid initial federalization, all subsequent refederalizations are completely and forever unreviewable by the courts. Oh, so he's just really trying to drop the hammer here. No, you can't appeal. You can't do anything. Defendant's position is contrary to law. Accordingly, the court enjoins defendants' federalization of California National Guard troops. So there you go. I'm assuming it's probably going to be taken up on appeal, I would guess. But we'll just see what happens. If I come across anything later on, I will share it. From the Department of War, CTO, and this is the official account for the Office of the Undersecretary of War for Research and Engineering, and the future of artificial intelligence is ours to conquer. That, to me, sounds a little disturbing. So, artificial intelligence, America's next manifest destiny, from Undersecretary of War for Research and Engineering. And actually, I think I left a comment to that effect. Let me see if I did. No, I don't think I did. I know I reposted it. I said, well, this is kind of an unsettling statement coming from the Department of War that we're gonna, it is ours to conquer. We're gonna rule it with an iron fist. All right. Anyway, from National Guard, the New York National Guard's 109th AW, is that airlift? Yeah, airlift wing, recently kicked off its 38th year supporting American research in Antarctica. The LC-130s flown by the Guardsmen are the largest aircraft in the world capable of landing on snow and ice using skis, and they have it equipped and fitted with skis. That is actually pretty cool. So yeah, I know that they I don't know about the New York National Guard specifically, but I know the U.S. Air Force or the U.S. military in general, that they do routine flights to McMurdo Station down in Antarctica, especially the two big runs at the beginning of the season and at the end of the season. That's typically done during the summertime in Antarctica, which is the wintertime here. So that's obviously what they're doing right now. They're making flights there because we're now in that time of year where it's daytime all the time in Antarctica, and it's also summertime in Antarctica. All right, VA Secretary Doug Collins, the Department of Veterans Affairs has opened 20 new healthcare facilities during the second Trump administration. Find a VA location near you here. So I came across that and haven't seen anything with regard to this with opening up new facilities. So I figured that'd be worth sharing. Let me just full screen that. See, that doesn't work. So in case you wonder why I don't usually full screen my feed when I go through it, that's why, because the X platform usually puts junk on the side. So anyway, so there it is. There's all these new clinics that they open. None in my state. I live in the state of Florida. I live in the St. Pete area, but doesn't look like they've got any. But we've got a big VA hospital. It's called the Bay Pines VA. It's a gorgeous facility. It sits right on the water. It's absolutely beautiful down there. And I live actually very close to that. So pretty cool. Anyway, and that'll be linked, by the way, va.gov/find locations. Let me just see what it looks like. So that's what you can do. You can use your city, zip code, and you can find the nearest location near you. And from House Republicans, They just passed the National Defense Authorization Act to advance President Trump's peace through strength agenda. And we just heard that from what's-her-name speaking from the podium. We voted to make 15 of President Trump's executive orders permanent. So at least they codified a few of them. I mean, that's good. At least they're getting some of them through. And that's the NDAA 2026, $901 billion for the military next year. And that is a lot of money. Secretary Sean Duffy, the president is a builder, and we are already working on a design to make Dulles Airport one of the best in the country. Stay tuned for updates on this exciting project.
Brian, on that point, we are going to have the greatest airport ever. President Trump is going to rebuild Dulles Airport. It's one of the worst airports in the country. We're going to rebuild it. He's a builder. He's already working on the design. It's going to be fantastic. The Congress is going to give us the money, and it's going to be probably the best airport we have in the country.
All right. Well, we'll see if it becomes the best airport in the country. U.S. Federal Housing, FHFA. U.S. Federal Housing, it's an independent federal regulator overseeing the housing finance market. And we've got an article from them, and we've also got this letter that's been issued by them, U.S. Federal Housing press release. And it says, mortgage applications up, spreads are down. Trump administration is leading the housing market back into prosperity. Look, dude, they got a long way to go. They have a long way to go. Housing's got to come down by like half to really give Gen Z, Gen Alpha, younger millennials, any hope and chance in hell in ever owning a house, at least at this point. Washington, D.C., President Trump is delivering for the American people. Mortgage applications have risen to a 3-year high as families return to the housing market, and spreads between mortgages and treasuries continue to compress, improving mortgage rates and demonstrating the faith that the market has in this administration's leadership. Well, yeah, I guess. Oh, yeah, here, I missed the rest of it. So as President Trump brings prices down and wages up, Director Pulte's U.S. Federal Housing will continue to work with our partners across the administration and throughout our great country as we help restore the American dream of affordable homeownership. Well, back in like 2020, 21, 22, the rate to get a home was like down at like, what, 2%, 3%, like roughly 3%. One of my best friends, he bought a house in 2022 and his rate is 3.0, and it's a fixed percentage rate. So here, let me just check and see what is the average price for a home in America today. Let's just see what the latest is, because last I saw it was like 380. No, the average home price in the U.S. today is $513,000. That cannot be right. Based on Q2 of 2025 data from the U.S. Census Bureau and Department of Housing and Urban Development. This is the arithmetic mean sales price. The median, here it is. The median is $411,000. Prices have been relatively flat year over year with slight regional variations. It's coming down in my state because we have this massive surplus of inventory, thank God. But people, they're sticking to their guns. They look at their house on Zillow and on the market, what the website says that their house is worth, and they're just come hell or high water. I'm not selling the house until I get double what or even triple what I paid for it, even if it was just a few years ago. So yeah, man, the median price $411,000. I mean, if that's accurate, that's quite a bit higher. I kept citing $385,000 because that was the last number that I read, but that was like over the summertime. So maybe I didn't read the accurate number. So it's even higher than that. So yeah, $411,000. That's not exactly something Gen Z and soon to come up into adulthood Gen Alpha is going to be able to afford, man. They just can't. It's absolutely crazy. Here, hold on. What is the average? Oh, hold on, monthly. I'm gonna guess close to $3,000. If it's freaking like 415, okay, $2,000. All right. The average monthly mortgage payment in the U.S. today is approximately $2,000, which is crazy, man. Like in the 2010s, like not even 10 years ago, it was under $1,000. I think it was like 1,100 maybe at the most or something like that. It's essentially doubled. And that doesn't even factor in your property taxes, your homeowner's insurance, depending on where you live, maybe flood insurance and all that other nonsense. And then combine that with, the average $550 used car payment, $750 new car payment. Insurance for everything is just up like crazy, record highs. So I don't know, man. I mean, they make it sound like it's good news, and maybe it is better news than what they probably reported earlier in the year, but we're still a very long way from the housing market being, in my opinion, affordable. All right, Office of the First Lady, quote, "We are here for one of the most beloved traditions of the holiday season, Toys for Tots. led by the United States Marine Corps Reserves. For more than 75 years, Marines and volunteers across America collect and deliver new toys to children who need a little extra joy during Christmas, all wrapped with love and great care from the First Lady of the United States. So we've got the images of the Toys for Tots run, and very cool. Always good to get a feel-good story in the midst of the swamp. You don't get a whole lot of that. A lot of feel-good stuff happening. All right, U.S. Department of Education, thanks to the new FAFSA earnings indicator, students can now connect their post-secondary education to real-world earnings, a game changer for individuals pursuing higher education. Speaking of good news, this is certainly something that they should have had all along.
Yeah, I am thrilled about this indicator because I built my career through being a TV host and a contractor and didn't go to college. And so I love the fact that now families and students have the information to actually look at the ROI on what is their education getting them. Is this going to turn into something that's financially stable in the end and something without a lot of debt?
I almost didn't hear a word she said. I was too focused on her earrings. Those are really loud, very loud monkey wrench earrings. All right. Yeah, so it is a good thing. Like, they are rolling that out with the FAFSA. So if you apply to a university for a specific program, the FAFSA will tell you what the average the average income that you can expect to get with the degree that you're looking for in the area that you live. It's supposed to be like local specific, I believe. And so that way you can make the determination if it's actually worth pursuing or not. All right, AAG Harmeet Dillon, she's the Assistant Attorney General and serving at the Justice Department under AG Pam Bondi. Schools which choose to infringe their students' religious liberty should be on notice. Loudoun County's egregious persecution of boys who objected to a girl in their locker room will not be tolerated by this Justice Department and the Civil Rights Division at the Justice Department. Loudoun County, if I'm not mistaken, that's in Virginia.
New tonight, the U.S. Department of Justice is moving to take action against the Loudoun County School Board for its treatment of students who object to sharing school locker rooms with students of the opposite sex. This comes after 7 News reported on the district's investigation and subsequent punishment of 2 boys at Stonebridge High School for expressing discomfort that a female student who identifies as male was using the boys' locker room. 7 News reporter Nick Minox spoke with the Assistant Attorney General handling this case.
The U.S. Department of Justice says the Loudoun County School Board violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment by forcing Christian students to accept the school board policy, which allows students to use bathrooms and locker rooms which match their chosen gender identity rather than their biological sex. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon explains why the DOJ is involved.
This is an egregious example right in our backyard of the type of school board woke ideology run amok in the United States, and even one child's religious liberty being infringed or family's liberty being infringed.
Didn't the Supreme Court make this illegal already?
I thought they did. This video was shot by the female student in the boys' locker room.
Maybe
and
not.
You can hear some of the boys asking why a girl was in the locker room and similar comments. That sparked LCPS to investigate 3 boys, but it eventually dropped the case against one student who was
Yeah, 'cause they fucked up.
while proceeding with the investigation against the 2 Christian students.
Oh, they gonna get sued?
Ultimately, the district's Title IX office found the boys had harassed and discriminated against the male-identifying female classmate. The DOJ believes the boys have been wrongly labeled as sexual harassers.
And that type of a label can follow them and prevent them from getting into college, prevent them from getting recommendations, kind of taint their entire lives. That is outrageous, unsupportable, and we're going to put a stop to it.
The boys' parents are grateful for the administration's support.
Our primary concern has really always been how the school had carried out the investigation, and this just validates those concerns that we had raised for months.
When families like ours get stuck in the middle of these situations and we're going against like a school district like Loudoun County that have billion-dollar budgets, it's really hard for us to do anything by ourselves. So all the help we can get, we really look at it as a blessing.
The parents hope the court will force the school board to remove the Title IX violations from their son's academic records and prevent LCPS from carrying out their 2-week suspensions. This morning, I reached out to Loudoun County Public Schools and asked for their reaction to the DOJ's announcement. So far, we haven't heard back from Loudoun County Public Schools.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they're sweating bullets. now that they're under the microscope by the U.S. Department of Justice. And this isn't the first time I saw this. I saw, I believe it was AG Pambani herself actually made a post about that yesterday. So they are on it. And the U.S. Department of Education, AI is an important tool in the future of education, which is why Louisiana is using federal grants to upscale AI tutoring and teaching tools in nearly 24 school districts across the state. Louisiana schools are going to spend nearly $6 million on AI tools and tutoring. Hopefully that money is going to be put to very good use. I mean, one could only hope so, because that's a lot of money. U.S. Department of Education Secretary Linda McMahon tours a school in Baton Rouge with State Superintendent Cade Brumley. Photo, okay. So, yeah, that's happening. $6 million on AI. I mean, look, maybe it's not something for all kids, but it should be an option, especially in the middle school, high school level. If any kids have a knack for computers, computer science, it's obviously, very obviously a field that's going to be very high demand. I mean, I'm sure it's already in high demand, but it's only going to be going up in the coming years. And I bet AI, they're going to get fat paid. Bet they get a lot of money in that field. All right, BLS, labor statistics, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Median weekly earnings were $1,076 for women weekly and $1,333 for men in third quarter of 2025. And they've got the whole spread here with all workers, and the dark blue is all, and light blue is men, and the, what is that, yellow, orange? I'd go with orange. Median usual salary earnings of full-time wage and salary workers by occupation and sex. Current dollars, third quarter 2025, not seasonally adjusted. And then they've got the same for management. Then, of course, we've got, so management for, let's see, men, it's like what, 18, yeah, probably 18 or maybe $1,900. And for all workers, what is that, like probably $1,650. And for women, it's like $1,475 maybe. So yeah, then we've got natural resources, construction and maintenance occupations, sales and office occupations, production, transportation, and material moving occupations, and service occupations. So that's what we're looking at. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Current wages happening. Okay, U.S. Trade Representative. Blue-collar wages are rising, and construction of new factories is springing up across the country as the president's America First policies revitalize our manufacturing base and spur greenfield investment on U.S. soil.
With respect to the report card, I give those metrics when I'm talking about our goals in the administration and at USTR. The goal is not to simply have a trade deal
U.S. Trade Representative
for tariff's sake.
USTR.
It's to have a trade policy that leads to these kinds of outcomes. So where are we on all of these? The trade deficit. Right now, the trade deficit globally is tracking higher than it was last year.
Great.
Why is that? Well, there were a lot of people front-running the tariffs. All right, they knew this was going to happen. So if you look on a monthly basis, early on, we had higher imports than normal. People were front-running the tariffs. If you look since August, we've seen a significant decrease. Notably, our bilateral trade deficit with China has continued to decrease. It'll be down by about a quarter this year, I think, if it continues at this pace. So
that's good to hear.
So overall on the year, of course, it's going to, the first half of the year is going to track a little bit what happened last year and the front running. But when you look at what's happening more recently, it's clearly going the direction we want it to go and we expect it to go. Second, on wages, blue collar wages are up. So we're seeing the right direction there. And then on the last one, manufacturing, the share of GDP, it's about the same. Some folks measure it a little less. What I would say, though,
give
is
that
we're
a few
seeing
years.
a lot of positive numbers there. And
few years, it should be going up substantially.
Numbers, because I can't remember everything. I can remember a lot.
$17 trillion invested
some of the metrics
in
I'm
America for
looking
manufacturing
at are shipments of core capital goods, which rose to an all-time high in July, remained high in August, remained high in September. Real private fixed investment was 5.7% in the first half of the year. 2024 is about 1%. So some of those indicators of new investment, more capital goods, construction of new factories and facilities is also up by a large percentage. So all of those are going the right direction that we want. I think we'll see it show up in early next year. Secretary Bessent said the same thing. We also have accompanying the trade policy are good tax policies, energy policies. We're pumping more oil a day than we ever have. We have expensing in the One Big Beautiful Bill that's going to help folks with their capital equipment and things like that. So a lot of the indicators we're looking at are going exactly the right direction.
All right. Well, one thing that didn't occur to me until just now with regard to building all of these factories all over the place, that's probably going to drive up the cost for building materials, which sounds like it, not even in a roundabout way, in a direct way, could potentially contribute to an increased cost in building new homes, I would think. I mean, I'm sure factories, by and large, they're probably built with different materials. I'm sure a lot of like steel and iron, metal, stuff like that. With regard to single family homes, a lot of it's just like wood construction, but still, I mean, building materials, I don't know. But let's move on to JD Vance. Joe Biden's insane policies left American families unable to afford a decent living in their own country. Through tax cuts, better paying jobs, and investment in American industry, President Trump is making America affordable again for working families, one step at a time. And he reposted from Rapid Response and from the president. It's a quote. He's talking about real wages. Under Biden, they plummeted by $3,000 a year, so on and so forth. So we'll hear what he says here.
But under Biden, real wages plummeted by $3,000 a year. Under Trump, the typical factory worker has already seen their wages increase by more than $1,300, and that's in just a few months. And for construction workers, it's $1,800 up versus $3,500 down, and I think their number is wrong. It's much lower than that. For miners, do we love miners? I love miners. I don't know how they do it, going 10,000 feet under the ground, and they wouldn't trade jobs with me. If I gave them a beautiful, magnificent penthouse in the middle of Manhattan, where I used to live, if I gave them the most beautiful penthouse, they wouldn't take it. They'd rather go 10,000 feet underground and dig. That's what they want. For miners, their wages went up $3,300. Okay.
Yeah, I believe that this happened last night in Pennsylvania. And what's interesting, this old guy with the green hat, on my show last night, yeah, he was interviewed by the local media because he was waiting in line to get into this event, and he was one of the first in line. And he has been to over 100 Trump rallies since Trump announced he was running for president back in 2015. And he was just waiting in line for the next rally. So that was interesting seeing him there. That's definitely the guy. So if you go back to yesterday's episode, you'll see him talking to the news. All right. I love America news. Oh, wait, hold on. No, that's a post. That's not the next thing. We'll move on to the real next thing. Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee, we designed the working families tax cut to unlock American energy. Today, the Department of the Interior raised nearly $280 million in the first lease sale mandated by the law. America is ready to drill, baby, drill. This is from Secretary Burgum with the Department of the Interior. This lease sale generated almost $280 million and is a major milestone in rebuilding American energy dominance. We are unlocking investment, strengthening our energy security, creating jobs, and ensuring Americans have access to affordable and reliable energy. I mean, it sure as hell beats renewable energy. And this is going to be on DOI.gov, directly from the Department of the Interior. From New Orleans, the Department of the Interior today announced that the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management successfully conducted lease sale Big Beautiful Gulf 1, which is the first mandatory offshore oil and gas lease sale required under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The sale generated $279,433,757 in high bids for 181 blocks across 80 million acres in federal waters of the Gulf of America. 30 companies submitted 219 bids totaling $371,881,093. Quote, President Trump made clear from day one that the United States will no longer be held back by bad policy or foreign dependence, said Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum. Today's lease sale is another major milestone in rebuilding American energy dominance by unlocking investment, strengthening our energy security, creating jobs, and ensuring Americans have access to affordable and reliable energy. The Trump administration is delivering results, and the Gulf of America is once again leading the way. Today's lease sale directly supports Executive Order 14154, Unleashing American Energy, which directs federal agencies to accelerate offshore oil and gas development to lower energy costs, reinforce national energy security, and enhance America's global competitiveness. The strong bidding we saw today reflects sustained industry confidence in the long-term potential of the U.S. outer continental shelf and the clear direction of this administration to expand responsible offshore development, said Acting Bureau Ocean Energy Management Director Matt Giacona. And the final notice of sale was published in the Federal Register on November 10th of this year. For the first time in a decade, companies were invited to attend the sale in person, and the event was live streamed for public viewing. Results will be posted on the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management's website with a final statistical summary published within 90 days. And it goes on from there, but I will have that linked for your viewing and reading pleasure. And we'll head to, Chuck Schumer. Last night, Trump said energy prices are coming down very substantially. Fact check. Wrong. Energy prices are skyrocketing under Donald Trump. Household electricity prices are up 13% since Trump took office, meaning families are spending $100 more each year on electricity bills. And utility bills keep rising. Source, Energy Information Administration. Not familiar with them. I mean, it would have been nice to get that from, I don't know, the Department of Energy maybe, or Department of the Interior probably has stats on that. So utility bills keep rising. Residential electricity costs are near a record high. So let's see, when did Biden take over? It was like right about here, right? So it went up and up and up and up. And then what was it, like right about here when Trump took over? So definitely a bump up, probably residual from the Biden administration, but also not to mention that blue states, namely, that they actually tax energy on the state level, electricity. Blue states, they tax electricity usage and they increased taxes yet again this year, but nice try. So, all right, so we'll go ahead and move on past Chuck Schumer, which, by the way, he got ratio 2-1. So that's normal on Chuck Schumer's, on his X account, which is kind of interesting because he is the Senate Democratic leader with 3.3 million followers. You'd think the majority of them would be Democrats, which would make it kind of difficult for him to get ratioed. But if you go to his profile, I've done it before. I go to his profile and I scroll post after post after post. It's just ratio. More comments than likes. That's a ratio. All right. Secretary Chris Wright, if you're serious about better energizing America, going all in on natural gas and nuclear is what will make that possible. And that is exactly what this administration is doing under President Trump. Freebeacon.com. Are they going to paywall me too? All right, exclusive. Trump Energy Department to finance up to 10 nuclear reactors in a bid to kickstart nuclear energy renaissance. Let's hope so. I did read a statistic somewhere that if the government were to mandate everybody drive an EV, they completely ban gas vehicles, and all of the, 220 million vehicles on the road were all electric vehicles, you would need the equivalent of 1,200 nuclear power plants to power all of those electric vehicles. And the number of nuclear facilities that we have in this country right now stands at just 54. All right, but anyway, so Idaho Falls, Idaho. The Trump Department of Energy is preparing to finance up to 10 nuclear power plants in an effort to usher in a nuclear energy renaissance, Energy Secretary Chris Wright said in an exclusive interview with the Washington Free Beacon. The agency will use its rebranded Office of Energy Dominance Financing to provide low-interest loans for the reactors, Wright said. The financing is designed to provide a nudge to an industry that has struggled for decades to get new projects up and running. Wright's comments came as he toured the Idaho National Laboratory, a government facility that focuses on cutting-edge nuclear energy research, on Monday. Yeah, I mean, one of the major problems, though, is that you can't build a nuclear power plant overnight. It actually takes quite a long time, but, I mean, hell, it's in the right direction. Whether or not it takes them a year or 10 years to build it, as long as they get them built. So, quote, we want things built by and risk capital coming from the private marketplace, and most everything we're doing is dominantly going to be funded by private capital, Wright told the Free Beacon. But the government smothered the nuclear industry for 40-plus years. We've got to get it back up on its feet again. That we do. We are going to use our loan program office at the Department of Energy for credit-worthy hyperscalers that are putting equity capital in front of us, he continued. We are going to back that up with low-interest loans. We'll supply it to maybe the first 10 reactors that get built. That'll incentivize people to move fast. The Energy Department's intent to finance new nuclear projects is an extraordinary signal that the Trump administration is serious about deploying a new wave of nuclear reactors. President Donald Trump has identified nuclear as a strategic sector for shoring up both energy and national security. In May, he set a lofty goal of quadrupling the nation's nuclear capacity over the next decade. Yeah, that would be nice. Plus, they're rolling out manufacturing for small modular nuclear reactors. Should definitely take a look at that if you haven't heard of that before. It's absolutely incredible. I hope it does what they're expecting. See, here we go right here, small modular reactors. So let me just read this paragraph and maybe we'll get into that. Wright's comments come a month after the Department of Energy closed on a $1 billion loan for a project to partially restart the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant. That loan, though, will help bring a decades-old plant back online. The future financing, Wright teased on Monday, will support new projects and new technology. It could help finance the development of small modular reactors. Traditional reactors typically produce around 1 gigawatt of electricity, enough to power about 1 million homes. but are stationary, costly, and must be custom built for their location. Modular reactors are small enough to be transported, and they can be assembled in a factory, and they will still be able to generate as much as 300 megawatts of electricity, which would power about 300,000 homes. So if you're curious to learn more about that, I'm sure that's what this link, if I can click on it, will be there in the description. I'm sure it goes into detail about that. Looks like that's going to be c3newsmag.com if it ever decides to load. Small modular reactors could be the key to achieving a secure energy future. Wow, man, that was back in 2022. I mean, I guess you could read that article, but they've been talking about these small modular nuclear reactors as recently as like right now. I mean, they've been talking about it all year, really. And to the point where just a couple of months ago in the state of Tennessee, they broke ground on the first modular nuclear reactor facility. And they expect by the year 2027, it should be finished. And by the year 2030, they should be assembling and building as many as 100 of these reactors per year. And I believe Google, and there's another company, I don't remember the other one, but Google is one of the companies that has already secured a payment for like the first batch that are expected to roll out. So it's very interesting. Okay, we'll move to Peter Navarro. The big beef cartel has a chokehold on your steak night. The 4 big packers run the show. President Trump is launching a DOJ probe and reviving real competition. Yeah, they're putting him under investigation for something like price gouging. So anyway.
Ouch. $22. You ever
That's
wonder
Publix.
why your ribeye
I know that logo.
what it used to? Let's talk about the big beef cartel. 4 giant packers, Cargill, JBS, Tyson, and National Beef, control over 80% of America's beef supply. They squeeze ranchers by paying less for cattle and gouge families by charging more for meat. Under Biden, beef prices jumped almost 9% a year, twice the Trump
per year
rate, and big beef cashed in. President Trump has ordered DOJ to investigate big beef for collusion and price fixing, and he's rebuilding competition with more small local processors. Bottom line, Democrats cause inflation. Trump cures inflation. Follow
All right.
for more.
So yeah, that'd be good if they get to the bottom of that and they actually can get the beef prices back down. It's similar to what the egg industry did during that bird flu outbreak from earlier this year. Remember when all our eggs went up to like $11, $12? Well, the supply of eggs only dropped by like a single percent, or maybe 2% at the most. But the supply was almost completely unchanged. But they used that avian flu as an excuse to jack up prices, even though the supply really didn't go down hardly at all. So they're supposed to be under investigation for that currently. And yeah, a quick comment to Publix. I mean, I learned recently when they overthrew the state Supreme Court ruling that made open carry in the state of Florida illegal. They threw that out. That was upheld by the Supreme Court back in 1987, and they just threw it out this year. And now you can open carry anywhere you damn well please in the state of Florida. With obviously you can't go into the courthouse, can't go into a school, the obvious locations. But in the Publix supermarkets, you can go in there and open carry. Publix said that I don't know if they said they welcome it, but they said that if it stands as state law, which it does, then they have no problem with you going in there with a rifle slung on your back and pushing a buggy around the store and getting your groceries. So I thought that was very cool of them. All right, Secretary Brooke Rollins. Today, I stood with Secretary Kennedy and Dr. Oz, CMS, to reaffirm a simple truth. America is at its best when we put farmers first. And by the way, Secretary Brooke Rollins, she is the Secretary of Agriculture. From regenerative agriculture to 6 new SNAP waivers, we're rebuilding a system that delivers real nutrition and real results for America's families. Thanks to President Trump's leadership, we are ending the failed food policies of the Biden era and charting a new path, one that supports producers, strengthens our food supply, and helps make America healthy again.
Hi, everyone. It's Brooke Rollins here with my great friend, Secretary Bobby Kennedy, Dr. Mehmet Oz. We just had a wonderful event here talking about regenerative agriculture, signing more SNAP waivers, the importance and the opportunity in this country to put our farmers first, our producers first, and ensure that the best farmers, ours in the world, produce and continue to build on the food supply that we know is necessary to make America healthy again. Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah, Brooke Rollins, the greatest USDA secretary in my lifetime, is using the levers of power at this agency to increase the supply of high-quality food for the American people. And part of our job is to also increase demand so that we can have a healthy population, so we can end the chronic disease epidemic. USDA spends $405 million a day on nutrition. We're changing the way that money is spent. Make sure that it is funding high-quality food, whole food, that we're ending the 40-year war against saturated fat and getting really good food to the American people. And part of that is assisting farmers who want an on-ramp to regenerative agriculture, which means greater soil health and greater nutrient density. And all of these things are happening because of President Trump's leadership and Brooke Rollins' commitment.
Now let me brag on Secretary Kennedy. Under his leadership with MAHA, we want to drive this through the entire system. So as Brooke builds up the supply of healthy foods, we've got to make sure that the U.S. government buys those healthy foods when it can. So for example, we're encouraging in all of our Medicare and Medicaid programs that we educate people on the right foods to buy and then do the things necessary and score people for doing this so they can get their patients and their beneficiaries to buy right. But even more importantly now, we have the unique ability to push insurance companies when they do give food to people who have chronic illnesses, which happens in a third of all the people on Medicare Advantage. That has to be healthy food, the kind of food that Brooke and Department of Agriculture is making possible with our farmers. And finally, as you all know, the Rural Health Transformation Fund, which actually is one of the ways we can make it easy for governors to do the right thing and get SNAP waivers so that healthy foods are available to our most vulnerable. We actually give points, which means millions of dollars to states if they'll submit for these SNAP waivers that Brooke just signed today. So it's all coming together. It's something that President Trump has desired, which is people, agencies work together for the benefit of the American people. No more middlemen. It's up to you to make the right decision.
Oh, let's hope so. Let's hope they get her done. Got to make America healthy again. And a rapid response, 47, Secretary Kennedy. And it's a quote. It's still in the same vein, so we'll just hear him out here. Hear what he's got to say.
Of a promise that we made in the MAHA report. The MAHA report, which we released 2.5 months ago, has 120 recommendations for how to transition, how to eliminate the chronic disease epidemic and transition to a healthier America. And among those promises, among the recommendations of the report, was the promise to make it easier for farmers in this country, to give them an off-ramp. Farmers who are dependent on inputs, on chemical and fertilizer inputs, to give them an off-ramp where they can transition to a model that emphasizes soil health. And with soil health comes nutrient density. And without coercion, through voluntary action, to give them good incentives to do well by doing good for themselves, for our children, and for the country. I'm very, very happy to have as a partner in this endeavor Brooke Rollins. I've been working on farm issues for 30 years. And this is the first USDA secretary who I believe is really committed to giving us, we already have the healthiest food supply in the world, to making a food supply that's even healthier, that's going to sustain, again, a transition to a much healthier America for our children. I also want to thank these farmers who are inspiring, and they're inspiring to the farm community, to all of us who care about good health, about sustainability on the farm, about soil, about water retention, about soil retention, about the health of farmers themselves who are concerned about the health of their children from too many chemicals on the land. And they have given us models. They would know best. These are 5th, 6th, 7th generation farmers, and they've provided us models for how to do this and how to do it in a way that vertically integrates, that preserves profit margins, and that dramatically reduces inputs.
All right. And I believe that was yesterday where he made that statement. Some of the American farmers visited the White House yesterday which I covered on yesterday's episode. And Secretary Rollins announces the launch of a new pilot program to invest $700 million to support regenerative agriculture. And this was at 10:49 a.m. So this happened
really
this morning.
Today is about the next step in making America healthy again, in addition to those waivers, and that is talking about regenerative agriculture. Regenerative agriculture is a conservation management approach that emphasizes natural resources through improved soil health, water management, and natural vitality for the productivity and prosperity of American agriculture and all of our communities. Today, we are launching a new Farmer First Regenerative Agriculture Pilot Program, which will invest $700 million specifically to support regenerative agriculture. We will deliver this support through existing programs our farmers already know and already trust. Protecting and improving the health of our soil is critical, not only for the future viability of farmland, but to the future success of American farmers. In order to continue to be the most productive and most efficient growers in the world, we must protect our topsoil from unnecessary erosion and boost the microbiome of the soil. Today's announcement encourages these priorities while supporting farmers to transition to regenerative agriculture if they so choose. This is a Farmers First pilot program and the first of its kind. The pilot brings USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS, we have our incredible leaders here, Aubrey Betancourt, back to its core mission.
What Monsanto thinks about all this.
Help the land through whole farm, outcome-based voluntary conservation that our producers trust. For too long, our conservation programs have been severely fragmented. This pilot replaces that fragmentation with one unified process that evaluates everything at one time. Whole farm planning is the centerpiece, ensuring that all resource concerns such as soil, water, and natural vitality are addressed together, not one piece at a time. Producers will benefit from a single application, reducing red tape and making conservation easier to access and our programs more impactful. As President Trump has done since day one, we are committed to restoring America's natural strength by empowering producers with simple outcome-based tools. Producers at every stage, from beginners just starting with cover crops to advanced operation with years of conservation experience, many of those are represented by our farmers today, will find a pathway through this pilot. Each producer's results will be measured and credited back to the farmer through an outcomes report, recognizing and rewarding improvements they achieve on their own land. This initiative puts American farmers first as part of the solution to make America healthy again, but by supporting access to American-grown whole foods that are critical to addressing the chronic disease crisis nationwide. Using the SUSTAINS Act, we will bring corporate, label, and supply chain partners directly into partnership with NRCS, supporting regenerative agriculture adoption, farmer recognition, and consumer education. Because success depends on strong partnerships, we will expand work through our technical service providers and local organizations to meet demand. In addition, the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production, supported by their advisory committee, will extend regenerative priorities into cities and urban areas and urban communities across our great country, again aligning with the MAHA agenda. And many of those places in our country, as you know, are those that are facing the most severe crisis regarding nutritious foods and access to nutritious foods. This new pilot is about results that last. It will make our farms more productive, our land healthier, and our water cleaner.
All right, man, let's hope so. Good news all around. I really argue with anything that they said, as long as it stays on the good side of things and doesn't get corrupted by, I don't know, lobbyists and who knows who. These massive private company, Monsanto maybe, I don't know. All right, Caroline Levitt, 12 hours ago, DOJ sues big blue states for blocking voter roll audits. So that's happening. And we will get into a little bit of this. It's on amac.us. And no thank you. And just roll on here. So it's no secret that voter confidence in the integrity of our elections has been eroding for some time. A Gallup survey conducted just before the last presidential election found that only 57% of Americans believe that the votes for president would be accurately counted. The legacy news media routinely blame this phenomenon on election deniers, yet studiously ignore the large number of states that flout federal election laws requiring officials to maintain clean voter registration rolls and make them available for public inspection. In short, the liberal establishment in this country has actively created an election integrity crisis by refusing to comply with federal law and then calling conservatives conspiracy theorists for noticing. This problem has become so rampant that the Department of Justice has been forced to file lawsuits against 14 Democrat-dominated states pursuant to persistent violations of the National Voter Registration Act, the NVRA, and the Help America Vote Act, HAVA. I mean, I thought Democrats were all about election integrity. I thought they said that our election system, it's fortified, it's ironclad, there's no meddling. You know, how dare the Republicans accuse any kind of cheating or any kind of stolen election in 2020? I mean, if it's all up to snuff, then why aren't you releasing this like very basic information? Just release your voter registration. Why would there be an issue with that? I mean, it's pertaining to a federal election anyway. So NVRA requires states to maintain accurate voter rolls by conducting regular list maintenance to remove ineligible voters. HAVA builds on that framework by mandating statewide voter registration databases and verification procedures to help election officials identify and correct outdated, duplicate, or invalid registrations. On Friday, Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division, Harmeet Dillon, announced in a video posted on X that her office is suing states that have knowingly failed to comply with those laws, which I believe I shared yesterday. Now we have 15 lawsuits pending against 14 states, Dillon wrote. That's right, California got sued twice, and we are in litigation with them. They're refusing to provide their records. The list of states that the DOJ had to sue will surprise no one. California, Delaware, Maine, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. North Carolina finally relented in September, and a federal court approved a consent decree in which the Tar Heel state agreed to remove approximately 100,000 people who remain on its voter rolls without identifying information required by federal law. Required by federal law. So only one can imagine California, for instance, sure that they've probably got way more than 100,000 people who are illegally on their voter rolls. Dillon said another 12 states are cooperating. Quote, we sued North Carolina early on, and they are checking the voter records of 100,000 voters who are improperly enrolled on their voter rolls. They're going to fix the problem. Voluntarily, we have an agreement in place with almost another dozen states, and I expect very soon we'll be looking at their voter data to compare it with our records and helping them clean up those voter rolls. Despite very reluctant and dilatory cooperation from the states, Dillon revealed that the DOJ has already made some disturbing discoveries. We found 260,000 plus dead people enrolled in the state's voter rolls, which is pretty concerning. I mean, it absolutely seals that joke. It's not even a joke at this point, where an old Democrat says, when I die, make sure you bury me in a blue state so I can keep voting. I mean, it's not even a joke. It's actually for real. So they're going to be removed with the help of the DOJ, she added. There are several thousand non-citizens who are enrolled to vote in federal elections. Also a major problem. This is very concerning, and the DOJ is partnering with local law enforcement where appropriate to prosecute people who have unlawfully voted in our elections. All of which raises the following question. What legitimate objection would any state have to a Justice Department audit of its voter rolls? It's not as if laws invoked by Assistant AG Dillon are new. The NVRA was passed in 1993 and signed into law by then-President Democrat Bill Clinton. HAVA was passed in 2002 and signed into law by then-President George W. Bush, Republican. Nor do the audits impose a financial burden. HAVA even provides federal funds to states to offset the costs. The following shows how much money these 14 states received in 2024. And that's a lot of money, all in the 6 digits. And the taxpayers are shelling out $2.1 million for election integrity, yet these states ignore federal law and their election officials refuse to do their job. So anyway, it looks like it's probably, it's going to go on quite a ways from there. So, of course, as with all the other articles, it'll be down below if you want to read the rest of that. And from Federal Reserve, Chair Powell reads opening statement at the FOMC press conference on December 10th of this year.
Our monetary policy actions are guided by our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. At today's meeting, the committee decided to lower the target range for the federal funds rate by a 1/4 percentage point to 3.5 to 3 3/4%.
All right, there you go. 3.5, 3 3/4%. And at YouTube, the video quality is just, it's night and day compared to X. I think Elon Musk really needs to get on that. The video quality on X has never been very good. Okay, so the White House, President Donald J. Trump named most influential person in Europe. Most influential person in Europe, according to Politico, President Donald Trump. And heading to U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service 11 hours ago, the phrase, "Don't tread on me," was forged in the early days of American history and inspired by a shy North American reptile. The timber rattlesnake is a secretive but powerful native species that once stood for unity and defiance during the Revolutionary War. America 250, don't tread on me, 1776 to 2026. If they're printing those flags, I'm going to look for that. All right, so NASA Universe, gamma ray bursts, the most powerful class of cosmic explosions, usually last under a minute, but astronomers spotted one in July that continued for days. Learn how NASA telescopes and other facilities are helping us narrow down the possible causes, and I will link that. They also have this quick clip. But yeah, man, a gamma ray burst occurs when a huge, enormous sized star explodes, and these jets of pure gamma ray energy eject out of the north and south pole of the collapsing star, and they just eject right out into space. And if I don't know, they're like, well, it depends on the energy that they eject, but they're high, like pure energy gamma radiation, and these jets of energy that just shoot out into space. And if one is not all that far away, and that exploding star, if its north or south pole is pointed directly at the Earth, and if we were to get hit by one of those, it would instantly, in less than a little fraction of a second, would sterilize the entire planet instantaneously. But still, like, it would have to be like within, I don't know, like probably a couple, few thousand light years away. There's no stars that we know of that are in that state at all. I mean, Betelgeuse, it might eject gamma ray bursts when it explodes, but I think scientists probably would have known by now if it was going to be any threat to us. So I'm assuming that the north and south pole of Betelgeuse probably isn't pointed directly at the Earth or the solar system. But anyway, this is a 20-second clip of where they found it. Check this out. They got to zoom in really far. And on, and on, and on. Isn't that amazing how they had to zoom in that far and they still found it? It's absolutely wild. It's incredible, man. Yeah, it happened right there. That's the gamma ray burst, I guess. So, yeah. Usually they outshine the entire galaxy. It's usually like a definite brighter object there that'd be inside the galaxy. But according to NASA, they detected it. I mean, they've got these crazy systems that stare at the whole night sky, and they look for stuff like that. They look for gamma ray bursts. They look for supernovas, hypernovas, all that fun stuff. All right, NASA Solar System, which it's got the gray badge. It's a government agency, so I get to talk about it on the swamp. So, all right, so water on the moon. There's more than meets the eye. Ground-penetrating radar helps us peer beneath planetary surfaces, including on Earth, where we prepare to go beyond. Hashtag Ask NASA your planetary science fieldwork questions on Wednesday, December 10th at 3 o'clock p.m., which I guess we already missed the boat on that one. But they did post this, to be fair, yesterday. Anyway, we'll just take a look at this video. This will be the last thing of the evening.
So we just hiked up the slopes of the Hekla volcano in southwest Iceland. This particular site is important for lunar research. The regolith on the lunar surface is pretty fluffy, and we think there could be small grains of water ice hosted within that. So today we have a few of our teammates setting up some ground-penetrating radar surveys, and what it does is it makes a 2D slice of the subsurface, and we use that to understand what sort of material we're looking at.
Look at those reflectors.
Oh, yeah.
You think they would have sent a rover to the moon to look for that?
Ice grains.
Ice granules.
We brought in an auger to drill down into the subsurface to confirm our observations.
Auger in hole.
So that we can actually ground truth the observations that we make with the GPR.
Yeah, and you can see the sparkles of the ice.
That's a gift shot.
Yeah.
That's really...
Nothing can have our polar scientists more exciting than ice crystals. Ooh, I'm so excited for show and tell.
We have something to show.
So we're gonna
drill through the snow and look at the transitions from snow to ice to volcanic sediments. We'll get going. Hopefully we'll see some ice cemented volcanic sediments, and then we'll see how deep we can get. Yeah! Yes!
Yes! And so a lot of the ice as
Letting
we move
nerds be
through
nerds.
here has different characteristics. Some of them are just filling tiny pores. Some of them are actually
It's good stuff, man.
cementing
It's
it.
important.
As they look for ice underneath the surface, what I am trying to do is learn to characterize that ice and do that using visible imagery.
Yeah,
like
if they find
cameras,
this stuff on the
and
moon,
how
ice
best to
granules,
capture them
obviously
to
they
help
can
learn
collect it.
how we can prepare
They
our
won't have to
astronauts in the
transport
future.
water from
I'm
Earth.
just really excited
Very
about the
expensive.
prospect of doing actual geology on the surface of the moon and as we work our way toward Mars. So it's really a dream come true, and I can't believe I'm actually going to be a part of it. And so I'm so excited.
All right, well, there you have it, directly from NASA. And that's going to do it for this episode. If you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It'll mean a lot to me if you subscribe, and I will be dropping a new show every evening, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, the agencies, everything happening in the swamp. And I also post daily episodes on X, so feel free to comment there too if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your night. God bless America.